Good evening. The special meeting and the first budget hearing for the City Commission for Wednesday, September 13th, 2023 will come to order. Please join me in silencing your cell phones. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Martin?
Here.
Wrong, Commissioner Martin.
I don't know, we do sound alike. I'm here.
Commissioner Preen?
Here.
Commissioner McGurk?
Here.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Here.
Mayor Cleveland?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Everybody knows this is the first of two budget hearings, and we'd like to start with public participation. If there's any citizen who wishes to speak, please approach the podium. You'll have 3 minutes to address the commission at this time. This is a monologue, not a dialogue. If you have anything that you'd like to talk about, now is your time. You'll have 3 minutes. Seeing none other than the police chief, we will close public participation. This is a special meeting. Our finance director, Natalia Eckroff, will outline a presentation, after which the commission discussion will ensue, and we'll vote on each item separately. The first up is item 3A. It's ordinance 6423. It's to conduct the first reading and public hearing of an ordinance which, if adopted upon the second reading of a public hearing, will approve the proposed annual budget of the Utilities Commission in New Smyrna Beach for fiscal year beginning October 1, 2023 through September 30th, 2024. Have the city attorney, if you don't mind, read the ordinance by title only, please.
Ordinance number 6423, an ordinance adopting the annual budget for the Utilities Commission, City of New Smyrna Beach for fiscal year ending September 30th, 2024, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you very much. And I believe we have the CFO from New Smyrna Utilities here. Sir, if you don't mind, maybe come up and give us an overview of what you have in store. Thank you so much.
Okay, good evening. So just a quick high level. So the way we start our budget process is back in February, March of earlier this year. Right now, through several iterations of challenge sessions that we have internally, we're about $87.3 million in revenue. Our capital budget for the 10 years is about $231.1 million. So that reflects on the capital side, reflects our risk prioritized budget in the sense that we look at the projects, what's critical to the system, look at the time horizon and when those things need to get done, and that's how we balance it back. Our other litmus test is looking at the annual spend each year. Typically engineers have a propensity to budget more upfront and not spend as much, so what we do is we go at them pretty hard in the sense of to make sure that it's realistic spend. So for example, 2024's capital budget is about $24 million. We're probably around $20 million this year. So $24 million in fiscal year 24 as a budget seems to be a good marker. On the O&M side, 2024 represents a slight increase over 23's budget, so just over 3%. So same thing, we've had a detailed challenge session with each of the department heads. When it comes to revenue, we look at our usage, what we project based on past historical usage for electric and the water businesses. So that's where we come up with, and then of course, in all that, our estimate of the payment to the city as part of its franchise fees. So if there's any questions, but I believe our goal is to produce a budget that is proposing our reliability and consistency of our reliability and resiliency of our electric, water, and wastewater infrastructure. So.
Thank you for that, and we'll have the commission see if there are any questions. Ephraim, I'm delighted to know that you're doing so well on the revenue. And I know college is a little short. If you could send that $4 million over, I know that would help the city in a big way. Can you talk for a second about the expenses compared to last year, what your forecast is, and what the growth was?
So, just look at it real quick. So right now, our O&M expenses in fiscal year '24 about 3.7% higher than budget. And typically, when we either meet budget or beat our budget on the O&M side. So,
Yeah, that's what it sounded like from me. You said you overestimate, engineering overestimates, and then you under-execute, which is a bonus. I got that. And so what was the forecast for spend last year? And you said you spent, I think you said,
on
you
the capital
forecasted 24 and you spent 20.
yes, right now our budget for 2024, this is for capital, is 24 million, and we're coming in this year about 21 million. So much better. I think in our prior year budget, they were even heavier. They were in the high 20s, even low 30s for budget for capital. We knew that's what our span of control and what we can actually get done. We know that we challenged them pretty hard on the capital side to make sure they come in with a more realistic budget, because we know just based on everyone's bandwidth to execute projects and just the supply chain disruptions that we've seen, we're in a much better, the numbers for the 24 budget on capital are much better in the sense of more realistic.
And that capital expense represent what portion of your budget?
Well, we look at capital and O&M separately. So that 24 million is purely capital. And our total budget for capital over the 10 years is 231 million. But we do we redo that 10-year budget every year.
Got it. What portion of the 2024 budget is capital?
That's the 24 million.
You got that?
And then
as a proportion to the total budget for this year?
Our total revenue is 87 million. So
it looks like it's about 27.5% roughly.
And our 87 million, that's our total revenue. Our expenses as a portion of that is about 64 million. So.
Appreciate the insight. Thank you very much. Is there any member of the commission have a question? Commissioner Martin?
Not sure how this plays out, but I'm struck by the disconnect between the very valuable impact that increased revenue has on the city budget, and certainly the Utilities Commission, and environmental concerns about reducing the use of electricity and water. So I'm trying to figure out how we reconcile these two issues. And of course, from a financial perspective, the best I can come up with is a reduced usage means reduced wear and tear on the infrastructure, but it still is hard when you have a mindset to increase revenue, but an environmental concern to reduce usage.
So that's a very good point. Our revenues are purely based on what we forecast in load on the electric side and water, wastewater usage. We do not, everything we do is based on those projections.
Oh, I understand, but meanwhile, if we came up with incentives to reduce usage,
True.
It would also reduce revenue. So it's a very difficult seesaw here, and I'm not sure how we can play it out.
Now, on the water, wastewater reclaim side, particularly on the water side, what we see is per customer, the usage is going down as you look at it over the last 5 or 10 years because of the water, energy efficient appliances, water saving faucets, those kind of things. So that's all factored into our projections.
Nevertheless, we don't have incentives to reduce it further. I mean, when you're looking for revenue, why would you reduce usage?
True, but we do focus on the conservation side of it. So we do our part from a energy conservation. So so we do promote that. But at the end of the day, I have to budget for what we expect the folks to use in that regard, particularly when the weather is, as you know, this summer's been rather hot. We've definitely been using much more on the electric side.
Any other commissioner with a question? Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Appreciate your briefing there. Is there any we'll open this to public participation. Is there any member from the public like to address the commission this time on this particular topic? Hearing none, public participation is closed. All right, so do we have a motion to adopt the New Smyrna Utilities budget?
So moved.
Second.
And then move in a second. We've had a discussion. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Perine,
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman,
Yes.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The resolution is adopted.
The second reading and public hearing on that will be September 26, 2023.
All right, very good. Item 3B is resolution number 4623. Consider the adoption of the resolution, which, if adopted, would be the maximum millage rate for New Smyrna for the coming year. Madam City Attorney, please read it by title only.
Resolution number 4623, a resolution of the City of New Smyrna Beach, Florida, tentatively determining the amount and fixing the rate of taxation and making the annual property ad valorem levy in the amount of 4.4150 mils per $1,000 of non-exempt assessed value for general fund operations of the city for fiscal year beginning October 1, 2023 through September 30th, 2024. Scheduling a public hearing for final levy of ad valorem taxes and providing an effective date.
Okay, we have our City Finance Director here, Natalia. It's all yours.
And Mayor, if I may just,
Yes, sir.
if you could just hold on to your questions until she completes her presentation, would be appreciated.
Okay, so we'll take the questions at the end for each section. Thank you very much.
So, Mayor and Commission and everybody in the audience, thank you for coming. It's our first public hearing meeting for fiscal year 2024. And so this is our first slide. So our tentative city-wide millage, which we came down from proposed first, it's 4.4150. Debt service 2005.19. Debt service 18.099. So total is 4.7047. So what I should have on this slide, and we don't, it's our rollback millage rate, which is 3.5931, which is 22.8% increase from prior year. So this is our proposed 24 budget in general, which is totals 111,308,920. So just remind the Commission that when we first came to you in June, our proposed budget was $120 million. So it took us 2 months to get it down by $9 million. So as you see, it's by fund. It shows each fund separately, and again, total $111 million. So we've been through a lot of changes for the past 2 months. It was very difficult and challenging, and this is our significant changes from the last time we presented to you. So I will read item by item. We mostly already you're familiar with those. So city manager budget, this is for, as we all know, Khaled retires next year. No, this is not the one. Apology. This is the one that we have promotional expenses. Originally, we have $161,000, and we reduced to $10,000. We also removed grapple truck purchase, and it was added to stormwater expenses. Removed one of the trucks for $65,000. It was added again to stormwater expenses. Flagler Avenue lights now will be funded with general fund reserve. Originally, we were planning to fund it with basically operating budget. And our operating budget we reduced by $90,000. We kind of scramble around several departments. We asked to reduce expenses for us to balance. Basically, it was a week ago, so we came up with another $90,000. So now increases. Police department, we have new positions, 2 lieutenants, and it was proposed originally at $276,000, and now it changed to $322,000 with increase of almost $46,000. And it does include salary and benefits. 2 mental health positions also increased by $43,000. Proposed was at $146,000. It changed to $188,000. As we know, we added new position. It's school safety officer. It was added in 23, and we added this. Of course, we have to continue next year, so we added to fiscal 24 budget, and the net would be $60,000. So basically, total cost is $85,000. We reduce it by Volusia County payment of $24,000, which, again, as I said, net is $60,000. Police and fire pension liability, $250,000. So if you recall, we have a pension attorney several weeks ago to present us, and we're looking at that increase. Again, it was a very recent development, and to be safe, we're adding that to our budget. Work comp liability insurance. So basically, we got our quote from our insurance carrier, FMIT, and it came almost $500,000 higher than what we budgeted due to the storms that we experienced last year. So basically, most of it was attributed to property insurance. So we had to increase already existing budget by $144,000. So proposed was $345,000, and we had to change to $489,000. Liability insurance, that's the one I just talked to you about for properties. Again, proposed was $852,000. New code came to $1,253,000, and the difference, $400,000, we had to add to this year budget. Personal leave proposal, $60,000. I know that ordinance will be coming to your attention in next meeting. So that amount is $60,000 that we're planning to add to next year. Healthcare, $15,000. So we proposed to 3.27 million, changed to 3.29, and that was based on the final healthcare elections made by commission and employees. FRS contribution for city commission, because we need to add 3 new members, so that came to $32,000. So this list includes whatever expenses will have to be taken from our appropriations or fund reserve. So city manager payout, $141,000, recruiting cost, $50,000, replacement program for fleet, we increased by $700,000. Brennan Center Pier, so we proposed on $180,000, and it changed, unfortunately, to $561,000. So we had to increase by $381,000. Now, originally in the budget, we include the $1,150,000 for Hurricane Ian, and proposal was at $1.4 million, but decision was to reassess, and we did not think that we will go in construction phase next year, so it was reduced to just $250,000, $250,000. And I just make sure I have all slides. So that shows our originally proposed budget. If you recall, we came with 4.4586 millage rate, which would be 12.8% increase. Overall would be 10.9% increase. So we went back, reassessed our expenses, and now we're proposing, after all these changes that been made, to 4.415. So that service has not changed. It stayed from originally proposed. So now our total is 4.7040. For the total change for millage, 0.4234, or total change 9.9% from last year. And this slide will be covered by city manager.
I have asked Natalia to add this slide for the purpose of just to clarify what we have done. So if you look at what was originally proposed in terms of millage, that was the 12 point something percent. And then we dropped it to 9.8%. But I wanted to show what would be the structural items that we have to include in the budget without adding anything to the budget. This is the one that it must be added to the budget, which means the 0.22 commitments, the liability insurance, the pension, the workman comp that we have to add. That by itself was almost over 800,000. That comes out to be 7.31%. So if you subtract the 7.31% from the 9.89, so in reality, we are adding to the budget 2.58%. I mean, that is to go down from 12 point something percent to 2.58. Now, since we had the workshop with the commission back in August 18th or 15th, that's when we realized and we were informed by the increases in the liability insurance, by the pension on fire and police, by other additions that we have to add. If the commission wanted to go below what is proposed, which means I have to go and I have to cut either capital projects or cut personnel or cut capital equipment. There's no other things to cut from. We have shoveled some of these numbers, for example, the lights on Flagler. If I kept it in the budget, that would increase the millage. That's why it's a one-time item. I figure that we will take it out of the fund, general fund reserve.
So that slide shows, we typically show that slide for you and to show you graphics and where really tax money go to. So basically only 27% of a tax bill really comes to us, to City of New Smyrna. 35% goes to Volusia County, School Board 32%, and other, it's 6%. Also, you see in the corner there is a pie chart that represents what really our part is. So monthly increase. So basically, with 3.95% and the one we're proposing now, monthly increase to taxpayers would be $9.25 for a house with taxable value of $265,000.
And Mayor, I have asked Finance because they kept saying, well, that's not the median house, 265 in New Smyrna. So I asked her to calculate based on what I got from the realtors that in a median, the house is like $525,000. So for $525,000, in fiscal year 23, they were paying $2,247. in this proposed budget, if we adopt this millage that we are proposing, they will be paying $2,470. So the difference is $223 a year. So they will be end up paying $18.58 a month increase.
Say that, 15 what? 15 what?
18.58 dollars a month.
18.58?
$18.58 a month, which is, it comes out to be $223 a year. That's for 525,000 median home.
So that slide shows,
I was just going to ask, you said that was the median, you're using 525 as the median price,
Well, what I
not
did
the
is,
average.
what I did, this is not from the property appraisal. The property appraisal would be a lot lower, but I asked some realtors, what is the median house right now being sold in New Smyrna? And that is the 525 that they gave me.
Okay, so median. Yep. Thank you.
so
And when
that's,
you look at actual taxable value, it's a lot lower than what people actually are paying. So that's an important, if someone thinks they're, yeah, that's important to understand. I'm sure, Valia, you know that well.
That's if you bought a house today at 525,000, that's what you'll be paying.
Go ahead, Natalia. Yeah.
so that slide shows a comparison here in Volusia County where we stand. And we typically vary one of the lowest, and we continue to be. I know for a long time we were on the second place. Now we're on the third, which is still, we very much have one of the lowest tax millage rates in the county. And next step would be our second public hearing on September 26th at 6:30 p.m. at this place. And that concludes my presentation.
Very good. Thank you very much. Any members of the public have a comment about this resolution that's been proposed? Seeing none, public participation is closed. I think we probably have a significant number of questions. Let's start with the Vice Mayor, if you don't mind, sir.
She'd rather not. On page number 5, slide number 5, the 2 new lieutenant positions, there was almost a third more than we originally projected, went from 276 to 322. Why was that?
That is what the salary and benefits based on, I guess, the survey that we've done.
But if we proposed the 276, wouldn't that have been the same thing? I mean, what changed since July?
I think it's what's the current market, because if he was promoting the 2 lieutenants, and then the chief will speak to this probably better than I, but I think it's, if you do that, these lieutenants, 20 extra days, okay. There'll be
So-
20 extra days, go ahead.
So basically, it's benefit that was available to captains, and they extended that benefit to lieutenants.
Okay.
You following that? I don't get it, Randy, so explain it to me.
So with the lieutenant positions, what we did was we added in a benefit for the extra hours that they work. It's similar to the benefit that we give to our battalion chiefs in fire. They are technically salaried people who still work a schedule that their peers who are under them work. So in that, we looked across the state of different people who offer that option. So they'll get paid their straight time for the additional days that we estimated at being 20 days per year, paid at their straight time. That's the big increase that's in there.
Could I ask what the difference is between that and a salary increase?
It's only if they work those extra days. So it's budgeted in there to get that. If for some reason they don't work those extra days, they would not get that extra pay. So we budget it to make sure that we have it covered. But if they don't work those extra days because they took PL or something else on those days, it would be for holidays and special events is what it would cover. But it's not a guarantee for them, so it's not considered part of their salary or a salary increase.
So it functions as overtime even though it's not called overtime?
Technically, yes.
And is it executed regularly, annually by each member?
This is something new because the lieutenant positions are different.
Brand new, we haven't done it before.
I'm sorry?
It's brand new, we have
It's
not done
brand
it
new.
before.
We've never had this position before.
Chief, I see you in the back there. Will this be executed to the full extent? Is that your expectation based on what you've seen in other places?
It is, Mayor. And for the commission's, kind of even a further explanation of what Heather provided, in short, it's a compression issue. So the salary that we came up with the lieutenant would not exceed the sergeant's pay with overtime. So in order to make it a position that our sergeants would actually put in for, we had to add the available direct pay overtime, which would put them in a position to where at least it would be a little more digestible.
This puts the margin between them and a sergeant.
So even with this allowable direct pay overtime, it's possible they'll still be out-earned by sergeants who work regular overtime. We're just compressed, and this is the best that we could do to make it appetizing.
The caseworker, while you're up there, the mental health positions, I know you've been trying to recruit those for a while. Is that because you couldn't get people, or explain the change in salary for those two positions?
It's actually good news, Commissioner Preen. We hired 2 mental health clinicians. They are both on board and being trained as we speak, but this is ultimately what myself and HR had to negotiate to get them to take the job.
And just to verify, this is an all-in cost to the city, meaning it includes all the benefits, all the pension, all the add-ons? Or is that functionally, what is it, 95,000 in salary only?
Includes the benefits. Includes the benefits.
So it's an all-in cost to
It's
the
all
city?
encompassing, yes.
Thank you.
This is all
Okay,
ours.
back to Commissioner Hartman. We're going to stick with him until we're done, and we'll move to the next. Sir, I apologize, sir.
So the lieutenant's position is outside the bargaining unit, so they're not covering
That's
the
right,
collective
yes.
bargaining agreement. Okay,
Yes.
that's all I wanted to know.
Yep. All good?
Thank you, sir.
So, back to the fire police pension liability. Have you received the 175 tax money for
We
2020,
receive for police,
but not for fire
not
this
for
year?
the fire.
Okay. Can I get that when it comes? Thank you.
346,000, I think we received.
For
And I believe,
police.
Vice Mayor, I believe you even signed that paper.
Yeah, I signed that one, so I know what that one was. Yeah. I just didn't know if they came at the same time and,
No, we're still waiting for the other.
okay. Slide number 7 with the Brandon, was it the Brandon Center Pier? Went from 180 to 566. Is there a reason for that?
I think what I got from staff at the time, that was a quick estimate on they thought it was supposed to be a repair, but when they looked at the damage inspected by the consultant, it was actually a replacement. It wasn't just a repair. So that's why the initial cost was 180 and it just went up to 561.
So that was because of the additional damage to the pier itself?
Because I think when they looked at it initially, they thought they could be just do a minor repair, and
Okay.
that wasn't the case.
We applied for FEMA money, but we don't know if we're going to get it yet.
And just to make a note, I think I'm following the commission direction on that one, on the Brandon Center, Riverside Dock, and also 27th. If we don't receive any FEMA funding or insurance, we're not doing them. So right now, our maintenance operation director is waiting for an email or something in writing from FEMA. That doesn't guarantee that it's paid, but it's at least it's a step forward. I have in the past where I received verbal from FEMA, but then they change seats, and then you got somebody who say, well, Mike doesn't know what he was talking about. So I just need something in writing in order for the staff to move forward, so.
Could I ask if all of these will be like we were talking about, 27th, I think it is, Clancy, where we have to use the drawings because to get FEMA money, it has to go back to what it was.
Yes, ma'am.
And so is that the plan also for Brandon?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
So that's all I had with this, but, I mean, I'm sure you realize that some of the actions that were taken last night will kind of have to adjust some of these numbers in the line items. So understand that's forward. I truly want to thank you for taking the time, doing this, listening to my comments at least, because I see a lot of things that we had discussed and talked about ended up in this, and so I certainly do appreciate it.
And we appreciate your comments, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Hartman, and now Commissioner McGurk.
Thank you, Mayor. We started this process in January. I'm not sure that I have a lot to add to this discussion. Vice Mayor did a great job at identifying some interesting things, especially I'm always tickled when he discusses the union money, because that is something that is so out of my soapbox that I appreciate his direction in that. So I'm just going to say that we started this in January. I have a pretty good grip on where things are at, and I don't really have anything to add or any questions other than to say at this time, I'm not sure I'm comfortable with the flagler lights coming out of general fund. So I'll listen to the rest of the discussion. It's more of a principle. You know, we have a lot of challenges with the budget every year, and this particular year is like no other year that I've ever seen. I'm not going to apologize for paying the police what they deserve to get and more, considering how difficult it is. Can't apologize for the voters increasing minimum wage. We're all getting whacked and hacked by the insurance increases, both personally, and the city is no different. So there's a lot of challenges out there with this budget, and they seem high. And it is high, most of which is out of our control. So again, for the third time, we started this in January. I just don't think that there's a whole lot that that I can add at this point other than saying to staff, thank you. We've certainly challenged you. You have risen to the occasion to get it down to a single-digit increase, and I appreciate that. If there's some further discussion, if the commission's not happy, I think the answer is that we start telling you what projects to cut or where exactly we want you to do things. And I'm certainly willing to do that, because we can't have it all. We can't have these kinds of challenges, and then we can't accommodate what our constituents want in terms of the level of service and quality of life that they want. We can't have it all, and then also, cut the budget to something that's not necessarily realistic. So I'm happy where things are at. I think we can tweak a couple things before the final vote. I'm certainly willing to, but it's a very challenging budget, and I'll wait to hear from the rest of the commission with any further thoughts.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Commissioner Martin.
Just questions, and I know how difficult this all is. The 97% that we use the 97%. Still am not clear whether it's assessed taxable value or assumed collection rate, and if those are the same, why do we use different terms in different places?
Well, what I send you today, it's really our internal working papers. It's not for publishing. So when we work in our Excels, which we have millions of those, is that what you're referring to?
Well, I just try to read something and make sure that I understand it.
Right. The way I would say that's 97% collection rate of taxable value, which is 6,300,000,000. That's how I would say it. It's the same in a way.
Sure. I mean, I can
I know
understand.
how to explain it.
I can whip out a 97% with the best of them. I'm just looking at that label that goes beside it to justify why I've used that 97%,
Right.
That's it. Okay. what is the actual tax, we operate obviously on forecast. So I have a couple of questions about the actuals versus the forecast, and this goes back a little historically. For example, what is the actual tax received this year versus this same time last year? I know I'm pushy. I'm so sorry.
Are you referring to?
For example, we are forecasting a tax receipt. We're basing everything on forecasted tax receipts. So the question becomes, how good are we at forecasting? And so if we're within 1% or 2% of what we forecasted this time last year, bravo.
While
And-
Shali's looking at our financial system, I'll tell you what, we are usually very good at forecasting. We very close to what we budget and what we receive. Again, collection rate used at 97%. Last year we used 97.5. Florida statute allows us be
We have the
flexible,
flexibility.
cannot below 95. So we prefer to be more conservative. And we typically, by the time we collect everything, we're somewhere around 97, 98% collection.
So that in fact, with that as a basis, we would expect to collect more tax than we are using in our budget.
You also have to keep in mind we have delinquent taxes that will come
Isn't
to
that the
us the
3%?
following. That's why we give ourselves a little bit of a room.
That's the margin that.
No, I understand that. My point is simply like, if we're saying, okay, we'll probably get $100, and we get 75, or we get 125, that makes a real difference in how we would operate going forward.
So last year we budgeted 20,640. It's 23, right? So I called last year, which is this year. We live in 3 years, really. So $20,641,000. And we collected $20,445,000.
Is that,
So-
the collection rate, is that to date? Because we have another, 2 months on the
Right.
year? So is that a 10-month 20 million, or is that a 12-month
Yes.
20 million?
Well, it starts November 1st, as you know, so it's this fiscal year. Whatever
Right.
money we will receive starting in October will go in fiscal '24. So
October? Okay,
Our
okay, for
fiscal
the
year
tax
starts October
collection. Yeah,
1st.
no, okay. So, all right, so what we're saying is that we're
Right.
roughly at probably 11 months of that.
So to my point, we're a little below from our last year, our best estimate. That's why we decided to go 97 collection rate.
Okay, so we're a
To
little
be
bit,
more conservative and
Okay.
to be more realistic.
thank you for the clarification on that. Then, again, this has to do with, how we're forecasting. And I know you told me you use a rolling average for a number of accounts, such as the NSBU revenue, and I believe also the state tax revenue. Again, the question is how good are we on the forecast? Because I know the difference between what we're projecting for the Utilities Commission and what they're projecting is about $750,000. So if they've been overly optimistic, I understand using a lower amount. But if they've been pretty much on target,
We're not perfect, obviously. Year from year changes. We never know. We'll try and do our best. Again, we use forecast formula every year. And we typically very close, I wouldn't say. But
is there a time when you check to see how good you are and look at it, okay, this is what we forecast for the year and this is what actually happened?
yes, we do. But again, that's what budget amendment allows us to do when we come to you in November, when we do true up for the year.
Okay.
Which we have to do by statute within 60 days after fiscal year end, and when we basically look at our revenues and expenses and when we line them up.
Thank you.
So, but typically with revenues, I would say we're doing not a bad job.
Glad to hear it. Always good to know, to check to make sure you know whether what you've predicted is what happens. On line item number 206, is that $14 million line of credit intact and available should we deplete the general fund reserves as we were talking about last night?
Which line it again? I'm sorry.
It's number 206 on one of the presentations. On the proposed budget. It says number 206, debt service fund, paren, 2021 note dash 14 mil line of credit.
Oh.
There it is. See it? Line item 206? And it references that $14 million line of credit?
Yes, what about it?
So my question is it intact and available? Should we deplete the general fund reserves as we discussed last night?
So that line of credit will basically, in April 24, it will have to up for repayment.
I'm sorry, we've used it?
Yes. So right now we draw down 9 million point 6. No, hold on. We did draw down about that amount. So this line of credit, so just remind you, it's for our bridges, Barracuda, Fifth Bridge, Median, and that building for maintenance up for those projects.
So it's already allocated?
Right.
And so it's not available?
It's not available. Money is available, but for those
Specific.
capital
It's
projects.
a restricted line of credit. How's that?
Exactly.
Okay. And let's see, we already went through the houses. And this is again a sort of a general, like trying to reconcile wanting revenue against conservation. But, you know, we have more buildings at a higher value every year. And the ad valorem taxes this year are looking at contributing 25%, particularly when Jason brings up Flagler Avenue, which is sort of a hallmark of the city. I wonder how much revenue does the city capture from visitors and disposable income? And could we consider, I'm saying, how do we get more money without hitting the people in the most basic place, the home they own? So I'm not talking about this year. I'm talking about going forward. For example, if we could consider a city tax of maybe 1/8% to capture more income from visitors. How else? What else can we look for? And that's one thought I have had. I know the city doesn't like to spend money on, you know, what essentially is a visitor attraction. So I'd like to have a direct correlation between what the visitors cost us and what the visitors pay to be here.
You know, a good example, when we did the parking funds, I think we started off with $10 across the board, and then the commission said, hey, we'll drop it to $5. We dropped it to $5, and then they said, how about we have New Smyrna Beach residents free? And then from there, the county found out, and we went Volusia County free. So with that $5 that we had at the time, and having Volusia County residents get a free pass, look at the parking fund today, and that's all coming from visitors to New Smyrna Beach. So that gives you an indication there. Now, you could do an additional sales tax, you could do some other issues, paid parking, but that parking fund is a special fund, so you cannot use it for general funds. So that's sometimes some of the problems that you have with these kind of funds that you create.
Well, I'm just looking at, we have a very severe environment, beachside. It's really harsh, and it gets beaten up by a lot of traffic, a lot of people, and yet we haven't found a way to support keeping it looking like the town we all deserve. So where do we get the revenue to pay justice to the beachside that is the essence of New Smyrna Beach?
Well, I mean, it's the the Flagler Avenue, let's talk about the Flagler Avenue Boardwalk. I mean, that is being, a lot of the parking fund had been used to repair there. The Flagler Avenue itself, when we had the CRA, a lot of money was used. The CRA actually was used for the streetscape. The CRA was used to put the lights that you have today. The CRA funds was used to do the paving and to do all the sidewalks, the pavilion. So right now, there's no CRA. If you wanted to do something extra, then you have to apply something to the businesses there, and that's the only thing you could
Well,
do.
that's what I'm looking for, is what are some creative ideas to get the funds we need to support Beachside without hitting the poor people who are just trying to keep a roof over their heads. So I'm just suggesting that we put our heads together and be creative and think of something, because, you know, it's looking pretty beat up over there. And yet, you know, if you ask the Visitors Bureau, that's what they're selling. So it's sort of like selling a really old beat up car like the one I own. It's not a good image for the town.
I mean, we almost lost, by the way, the gas tax, because the county was proposing to do that. That will cut probably $400,000 out of our reservicing program. So thank God they kept it, because that would have been a quick hits.
So, okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Perine.
Last night, we made the motion and we agreed to move the fire trucks to the reserve, the overage in the reserve. And I had mentioned to you in a phone call I had earlier this week that I had seen that the Flagler lights were in that. What's the dollar amount after we put those two items out of the overage in reserve? What is left?
Right now, if we do everything that we've taken out of the general fund reserve, in extras of the 25%, we will have $953,793.
953,000 over?
After we take the fire trucks and everything else that we have coming out of general fund reserve.
Is there another way to do something with the Flagler lights instead of taking them out of the reserve?
Well,
I'm
you
with
have to
Commissioner
add it to the
McGirt.
millage. You have to add it to the general fund, which means the millage has to increase. So my thinking is, number one is, if you go on Flagler Avenue, there is probably over 20-something lights that are out. I mean, it's all dark. The lights need to be replaced, but it's a one-time item. So rather than increasing the millage, I figured that I'll take it out of the general fund reserve. Now, some of the money from the general fund reserve, I'm gonna give back for some of these grants that we are getting. The FEMA grants, the state grant, that will all go back to the general fund. So that's,
So it won't take long to at least have at least $1 million over the general reserve, the 25%. How much is it on average contributing to that reserve every single month? Besides what we're going to pay back from the grants?
now, if I understood you correctly, we have $1 million something coming from the USDA. We will have money from FEMA for the elevation projects that we will be getting. We also have some state money will be coming back for the Washington Street projects.
What time frame for all that? 2024?
Depending on how fast we finish the elevation projects and how fast we finish the dredging project. So I would say at least I would say 6 months in order for us to get some money back and put it back to the general fund reserve. That would be my estimate, but could be sooner, but.
So congratulations on getting that to 2.5% increase. That's tremendous compared to where we were when we first started. We went line by line through this budget. We spent it all day long. We made sure nothing got rubber stamped just for the public. We all went line by line by line, and we thank you guys for going through that with us. You mentioned, though, that the only way we would be able to make this happen without doing the overage and reserve is by eliminating salary or eliminating headcount. And just so the public knows, we already did that. We eliminated every single job except for police, fire, and one cybersecurity job. So there was a lot of cuts, just for the public record. We did. So, and I assume that all got tweaked in this final here, that you were able to get this number down, that we didn't even add any headcount that we talked about in the last budget meeting, except for those 3 departments, correct?
Well, thank you for bringing this up, because I was going to bring it up afterwards. When we started off with, if you recall, $9 million. Right now, I would say there is not a department that they're not understaffed, overworked. So every year we keep telling them next year. So when we submitted the budget and it was 12.89%, we went back and I think we did public safety, and we did the city attorney's office, and also the budget analyst for finance. I mean, that's the positions that we have, and then also the cybersecurity. I have a large list of personnel requests at the time. That's why the dollar amount was almost $9 million there. So 2 things is if the budget is approved, and I've seen it in the past, the next, right there in October, right after October, then somebody will come in and ask for a request, and the commission will authorize it. And so that's when you see the budget amendments. That's why you see the increase in the budget. So I just want to remind the commission that please, let's not add any more to our budget. Let's just concentrate on what we have today, maintain what we got, and try to reserve and preserve the general fund reserve. So.
Thank you for that. The other thing I forgot to mention was the attorney. And I had a person question me on that, and I believe Shay works half with the police, and that half did get allocated like we do the building ops to the police, which we really don't have 3 city attorneys. We really have 2.5, correct?
The only thing there is, I mean, she gets out of the police budget, but it's all coming out of general funds. So really, you're taking it from one side, this pocket, to the other pocket, but it comes out of the police department budget.
Okay, and it's very much needed with all the litigation we have and police work we need. This is a dreaded thing I have to mention, but it plays off of what Commissioner Martin said, and also what we've been discussing a lot in legislation, and it's has to do with the mobility fees and the impact fees for developers. And Commissioner Martin said, how do we collect money without hurting, other than impacting our property tax and our homeowners so much? Because we didn't do a very good job this year with the shovel-ready economic development, changing that percent to more commercial and industrial. And that is something that we've got to work on to get that burden off of the homeowners. But one of the things that a lot of the cities I listened to last week was how the county wants to keep some of the impact, but they have an inter-county agreement with the city and the county on these impact fees from developers, this interlocal with the county agreement. When was the last time we looked at that type of income coming in to help our budget?
Well, we have our own impact fees, and we increased our impact fees in 2020, if I'm not mistaken. And I think you have a limit of how often you could increase them. So what we did at the time, we did a whole study, and they were substantially increased from the past. So I think it's 2024, if I'm not, Carrie, that we will be able to increase the impact fees. So it's not, we cannot just increase it, every time we like to. So there is a time limit that you have to do that. I think it's August 24.
It's either 24 or 25. I believe we have one set that's due in 24, the next maybe 25. But the other thing I have to caution the commission on is the legislature imposed limits on how fast you can raise them. So, it depends on the amount, but I offhand, it's like 25% per X number of years, and then you can't raise them for 4 to 5 years in between. So I'd have to have it in front of me to give you a precise answer, but generally just know that there are limits that if the study comes back and says they should be raised this much, the legislature may only let you do this much.
I think it is important that we do what Commissioner Martin said and look for other avenues of ways to make money. Our enterprise accounting too, I've mentioned this multiple times up here, that we get that CPI increase in as soon as we can vote on it. We did say we were going to talk about that, and we definitely need to, the revenue accounts or the enterprise accounts that we don't have that CPI automatic increase. I think the last time we increased the golf course was 2 years ago, and City Marina definitely needs an increase again, in my opinion. That's not the ones sitting up here, that's just coming from me. But we should make it a challenge to try to make each one of these accounts at least break even.
That's coming to you on the 26th.
Okay.
Rob has been working on a whole fee increases,
So there are a lot of ways that we can work on this. Economic development is the one that I really want to push for 2024. If that's something we can do for shovel ready, and look at the zoning and our opportunities at the airport. But thank you guys. I know you're exhausted, and we've exhausted you to death. This is like the final event, and I appreciate your help and patience with the new ones up here.
thank you.
Commissioner Perrine points out that the work has been put in and for public consumption, although few in the room. Many will watch this and many will be tuning in from home. There was a line-by-line review that went on, and to go from 12 down to 2.5 is an amazing feat. I wonder what your assessment is, City Manager, of how much to the bone damage in providing services is one question. We find ourselves with an ever-increasing demand for services, and the budget rooms are empty. And so while it may appear that people don't care, they'll care if we get sloppy. And I don't think we're being sloppy. I think we're being very, very cautious. I worry that we have a hangover from the 2008, 2009 years of recession, and that we, as a staff, are still thinking we want to provide a minimum. We want to provide the maximum with the minimum, and that drains your people and dogs them out, and they don't last. They go other places. So I'd love to hear your commentary on that. Just for clarity, I understand structural costs. We call them at the national level entitlements, which is the salary, the pension, the health care increases, and the insurance is about 7.5. I got that right?
7.31% to be
Very good.
To be accurate.
Leaving you trade space of about 2.5 to do all the many capital equipment, capital improvement, and any of the other things. Would you talk for a second after you've got my first point? The second thing I'd like you to say something about is, are we missing something? Is there something that is that is going to bite us later? You know we're delighted with single-digit increase, but I want your assessment of what has that done to us, and are we, in your 34 years of experience, are we making a mistake? And is there something that should be accepted here? And so those are two, and I'll follow up later after you get those in.
Thank you, Mayor, and I think they're good questions and good comments. If I thought that we were making a mistake, I would not propose this budget. That's number one. In terms of service, I think the service will be there, but you might see a delay in the service because we have shortened personnel. That's number one. But as far as the service itself, I think we will maintain, I would say, a B service. And typically I would like to provide an A service, but I think a B service will be provided to the community. There is nothing there that I would say right now it's a must. I think that the must would be if I wanted to, for example, improve the service we provide, say, in the building department. Like I wanted to make it, instead of 4 weeks, I want to make it 2 weeks. Then I need to add personnel. I think we have the software, we have the personnel level right now to maintain the service that we provide. But as you know, we always strive to be, a step up. Same thing with police. Right now we're short on staff in police. We will maintain the service, but we might have a delay, we might have, so they have to kind of like adjust their priorities in terms of where they provide the service and what time and when. But there's nothing, Mayor, that I would say that we're making a mistake. I think I would love to see the millage that I proposed early on, but I understand nobody wants to see an increase, 12, 13, and 14, and 15%. I don't like to see it. So that's why I think we were kind of like wise in taking the stuff that I could have a delay on. But I just want to warn the commission. A lot of the items that we took out, we told these people that they will be on the next year budget. So the challenge will be in the next year budget as well. But hopefully we will have maybe a better revenue, maybe increase in property value, maybe that will offset some of it. But I just want to make sure that that 0.22 will be added next year. The liability insurance will be there. Daytona Beach, they're given staff increases 7%, 4% in October and 3% in April. So right now there's a war with everybody is trying to incentivize the staff to come and work for them. So we have to maintain the staff level, and we have to maintain the quality of the staff. The staff is working hard, and I think they deserve at least to be compensated for what they do for us and for the city.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. I would love your impression of what storm impact has in terms of a hangover for what we may be paying for as we go down the road. And so if you'll comment on that, you didn't expect that, surely, and now are we paying a price for that instead of getting more of the goodies that we all seek? Learned at the Florida League of Cities, talking with other city managers and other elected officials, a phrase that the economic development driver for the city is your city manager. I admire what we're doing inside of the limits of our economic development department, but I certainly know that you are a prime mover in how we either attract businesses or do not attract businesses. And so it will be a huge challenge in your last budget cycle to get things going, but I would encourage you to go out with that as a mantra to get the economic thing going. And I know you have some projects that you're interested in. Maybe you can go into those, but you are the mover of the economic development. You've heard you've heard a few of us up here talk about we cannot sustain the 90% load on the residents and 10% or less on the businesses. We really have, that's not going to, in 10, 15 years, that is not going to be sustainable. No one will be able to afford to come here because their property taxes are so high. We've got to do something. And it's going to take a seed change. And it may be you in your last year, and it may be your successor. The last, and then I'll allow you to comment on each of these. I'm a process engineer, and I know we have the people we have, and where I come from, there are two things that cost money, people and stuff. And what you do with those people and that stuff is the magic. And so I worry that we have a city that has processes that are not up to date, not current, not lean worthy, not Six Sigma worthy, not theory of constraint mindset. And it's not by any fault of anyone here in the city. We have not had that infusion of that way of thinking in our government. It is very difficult. I've been in government organizations where it takes a center of excellence for those tool sets to catch fire department by department. You're starting that with your building department right now with this open house. I would encourage that we have a lean and Six Sigma mindset to understand and document. You heard us last night ask a couple hard questions about what is written down on the documentation of a process, collecting liens and writing liens up. What's written down happens. What's not written down didn't happen. And so it has to be a documented process, in my opinion. And that's where the magic of leaning out people and stuff, if we keep doing it the same way, it will always cost us a little more by inflation and cost of goods and services increases. But if we do it differently, it could cost us less. Now, I'm not talking about job reduction and a RIF, but I am talking about over time not adding that next person as the city continues to grow, because now we have an awesome process that allows us to do it with the same number of people or less number of people. I'd love your comments on each of those. Storm, impact, city manager as our economic development coordinator, and process.
The storm has really impacted us in so many ways. Because what happened when you have the storm, it takes all your energy and all your efforts and from working on the project that you're working on, and now you're under recovery mode. And the recovery takes some time. I mean, you talk about almost a whole year from the previous hurricane, and until today, we really have not done anything significant. We've done some stuff, but not the stuff that I would like to do in terms of the recovery from the storms and also having something prepared for the next storm. So it did impact us. You know, some of the item actually wasn't here. I have to move it from and get it from the general fund. That was one of the items, Mayor, that I felt like it needed to be in the budget, but not to impact the millage, so we moved it into the to the general fund reserve. As far as economic development, unless if we are welcoming city to the businesses, you will not improve their trades. And what I mean by that, every time we have somebody, whether it's a business, and I'm talking, when I say a business, I'm talking about something big, not a business on Flagler Avenue or on Canal. But when they try to relocate to New Smyrna Beach, the opposition and the treatment that they get, that turn people off. And I just want to be frank. I have a lot of people have approached me and they say, we will not do anything in New Smyrna because you spend your money and then they kick you out. So if you talk about economic development, and that's why one of my goals to do the industrial innovation park west of 95, it's for that purpose, because when you're trying to relocate to New Smyrna, what is the most difficult thing to do? It's the permitting and the approvals. These two will destroy somebody who's trying to relocate to New Smyrna. So if you have a pad ready out there, and I'm looking for big firms and big companies to get to the industrial park. We were lucky enough, we had almost 3-4 meetings. I think we got to the point, I'm meeting with them sometime next week before I leave onto the conference. our assistant city manager and the development services, they're meeting right after with them again. And I'm trying to establish some of these items to be included in this. And I'm looking for a 5-star industrial park. I'm not looking for an average industrial park. I want it to be the top industrial park in Volusia County. And I think that's what we're gonna get. So, but I think, Mayor, we have to use education on being a welcoming city if we need to change the formula on our commercial residential ratio, because that's important. The process. For the past 4 years, we have made significant progress on processes throughout. You look at the software being used in the building department, for example. We were one of the first cities to be having a permit online. That process has significant changes the service that we provide to the citizens. I know it's up not to the level that we have. People are still complaining. That's why I wanted to have this open house. I want to get their feedback. I want to listen to them and see what suggestions do they have. Because half of the time, it's something that either they did not submit a document or an information to be provided. I want to try to improve the communication, whether with the homeowner or with the contractor. So we're working on that. The software being used at the leisure services. The software being used with the work order at Public Works. When I went to Public Works, the work orders were on a piece of paper. So if I have to go back and find a work order from 5 years ago, I have to go and search through almost 10 boxes. If I want to find out how much I spend in one building, I have to spend probably 2 weeks. Right now, in a click of a button, I could find out how many hours and how many materials I use in one building. That's a process. The process that we use at City Hall for finance. Our purchase orders, our timesheets, everything is being processed. Now, talking about the liens. Changing people in one section, sometimes it does hurt you. So when you have 4 administrative assistants that they will change in that one section in a matter of 2 years, and that really hurt us. So now we have established a process there for them that it guarantees that the lien will be filed. We have good documentation electronically, and it's saved. Any other questions, Mayor?
No, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Is there any follow-up from any commissioner?
Too many to get into tonight. I like some of your vision. Thank you for those comments, and Mayor, thank you for those questions.
My pleasure. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. On the lights on Flagler that have clearly rung some bells, shall we say, will the 190 that they were allocated on Flagler from ARPA be used against that amount, or will that be separate? Because I don't believe that the $190,000 that matched what Canal Street received has been expended yet for Flagler. Is that correct?
The 190, Commissioner Martin, was from the ARPA.
Right.
This is the 500 is coming from the general fund.
I
So-
understand the allocation, but we haven't spent the
It will be in
190
addition.
yet on Flagler.
In addition?
Okay, so I
So
wanted
it'll
to
be the
clarify
190
that.
plus the 5, so it'll be in addition to it.
Then I wanted to know if we'll be able to get updated budget book pages for our proposed budget book so that we can see the difference between where we started a few months ago and where we are now. Is that possible to get those updates?
It's possible, but it's going to take some time because right now we're short on staff. So as soon as we get it, we'll provide it to you.
Thank you. It would be great if we could have it, before the 26th, but I understand it's a push. And my last question is that I understand one of the biggest issues in economic development is having the labor force for the companies that we're trying to attract. So if you build it, will they come if we still don't have an appropriate labor force? Just a question.
Well, it's like.
I was at workforce, I was at the Workforce Development Symposium this morning, so it's really fresh on my mind.
I think the workforce is available in Volusia County, so I think if you build something here that attracts and have good salaries and good benefits, I think you will attract them, so I'm not
So
worried about.
we're actually trying to get not just the businesses to move in, but the
workforce.
the workforce to move in. So that's a double lift there. Yeah.
Sorry, Mayor, did I answer all your questions?
Yes, thank you very much. Did you have any, you or Natalia have any closing remarks?
No, I just wanna make sure that I wanna thank all the department heads and especially the finance department, Natalia and Shaliza. Since the budget workshop, we have put a lot of hours, a lot of meetings to come in and into this proposed budget. So it takes a lot of time, and every time you move something else pop up. So, I know that there were a lot of stressful time for them. So my apology to you, because I know sometimes we go and I give you a number and then we change it, and it's not something that I would like to do, but that's how it happened. So I appreciate everything that you do, including all your departments. So, and I appreciate the other department heads as well, the ones that when we needed some cuts, David and Rob and the police chief, they all come across and helped us to find, especially the last $90,000 that I had to find. So thank you, Chief. Thanks, David. And thanks, Rob.
Very good. For those of us watching or viewing this remotely or on recording, all the major department heads are here in the room with us and have contributed to the result that we have here today. Thank you all very, very much. Yes, sir.
So I just wanted to clarify something that you said earlier, and I've heard it before. How much of the budget is based on ad valorem tax? How much is other sales tax, gas tax, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? I think the last thing you said in July was 52%.
Yes, so basically half of your general fund, it would be ad valorem. So it went slightly down now in general. And we will provide you new charts probably not until September 26. But once we publish budget official, you will see all these renewed charts and pies, and you will see. But basically, it's about the same.
So 50% of our budget actually comes from rooftops. The other 50 comes from other taxing bases.
I don't think so. I think we have about a $26 million property tax on an $111 roughly million. I believe it's closer to 25% of our total budget.
Yeah.
50% of general budget, but 25% of the
total.
Of the whole.
Yeah.
She got it.
Good.
Thank you for the clarity. Appreciate that. Chair would entertain a motion to adopt Resolution 4623.
I'll make that motion.
There's a motion to adopt.
Second.
And the second. We've had a great discussion. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Perine?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes,
Thank you.
it's adopted. And City Attorney Square me away, we'll do this again at the second reading on the 26th, if I remember right. Okay. Very good. Thank you very much. It feels significant. We're going to move on to resolution number 4723, consideration of adoption of a resolution which, if adopted, would be the New Smyrna's INS, which is the debt service for 2005 maximum millage rate. City Attorney will read the resolution by title only, please.
Resolution number 4723, a resolution of the City of New Smyrna Beach, Florida, tentatively determining the amount and fixing the rate of taxation and making the annual property ad valorem levy in the amount of 0.1900 mils per $1,000 of non-exempt assessed value for INS 2005 voted debt service for fiscal year beginning October 1, 2023 through September 30th, 2024, scheduling a public hearing for final levy of ad valorem taxes and providing an effective date.
Natalia or city manager, you set this up, it's really pretty straightforward, but just for clarity.
This is it's a debt service from 2005. It was for capital improvement projects, and I think we should be complete with it in a year, Natalia?
Yes, last payment will be next year. So for fiscal 25, our taxpayers will not see it on the tax bill. So next year it's the last payment.
It would go toward millage reduction.
Yes, overall.
It'll go to zero.
Yes.
Brilliant. Thank you. Any questions by anybody on the commission? Is there any public comments or questions about this? Public participation is now closed. Is there a motion to adopt Resolution 4723?
Motion to adopt Resolution 4723.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Perine?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes. The motion is adopted. On to Resolution 4823, which if adopted would have the New Smyrna Beach INS, that's the debt service for 2018, maximum millage rate set. City Attorney, will you please read it by title only, please?
Resolution number 4823, a resolution of the City of New Smyrna Beach, Florida, tentatively determining the amount and fixing the rate of taxation and making the annual property ad valorem levy in the amount of 0.0990 mils per $1,000 of non-exempt assessed value for INS 2018 voted debt service for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2023 through September 30th, 2024, scheduling a public hearing for final levy of ad valorem taxes and providing an effective date.
City Manager, would you set this up as well, please?
Yes, sir. This is, it's a debt service, 2018. That was for the Turnbull Creek preservation. The city had a referendum up to $15 million. Right now, I think we only borrowed $9.5 million. But this will be done in 2039. So.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Seems like a long way away.
I look forward to working with you all
Yeah.
to that time.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay. Is there anyone, public participation is now open. Any member of the public wish to speak on this matter? Seeing none, public participation is closed. Is there any member of the commission have a comment or a question? Chair would entertain a motion to adopt Resolution 4823.
So moved. Sorry.
Go ahead. Second.
We have a motion and a second. City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Perine?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes. Motion is adopted. And on to item 3E, Resolution 4923, which would adopt the tentative New Smyrna budget for fiscal year 23-24. City Attorney, please read it by title only.
Resolution number 4923, a resolution of the City of New Smyrna Beach, Florida, tentatively adopting the budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2023, scheduling public hearing date for final budget adoption and providing for an effective date.
Is there any public participation, any comments from any of the public present? Seeing none, public participation is closed. Any comments or questions from the commission? Seeing none, may I have a motion to adopt 4923, please?
So moved.
So motion
Second.
and a second. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Perine?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes. The motion is adopted. On to resolution number 5023, consider the adoption of a resolution which, if adopted, would authorize stormwater assessment of $8,417 per month equivalent resident unit, or $101 annually, to be advertised as part of the trim notice as a non-ad valorem special assessment. Madam City Attorney, if you will read it by title only, please.
Resolution number 5023, a resolution of the City of New Smyrna Beach, Florida, adopting the stormwater non-ad valorem special assessment rule, specifying the unit of measurement, certifying the role of Volusia County, providing for conflicting resolutions, and providing for an effective date.
Public participation is now open. Is there anyone in the public who would like to have a comment about Resolution 5023? Seeing none, public participation is closed. Is there a member of the commission who would like to discuss this further? Mr. Rashadat, would you set this up a bit?
Sure. Back in 92, 93, we were the last city in Volusia County to adopt a stormwater utility fee. I think at the time, the consultant recommended $5 and the commission selected $2.50. And it didn't go up until we start having some of these flooding issues and so forth. So at some point they asked that to do a CPI, and that's what you're doing right now. And it goes into your taxes. So this increase is just it's a matter of having a CPI implemented to our stormwater utility fee. The homes, the single-family homes, they pay one equivalent development unit. They call it the EDU. And for commercial, depending on how much impervious, so for each impervious square footage, it counts into the one equivalent development unit, and that's how the commercial pays their stormwater utility fee. That is across the city. There is nobody exempt except if you live in a subdivision and you prove that your subdivision was designed, constructed, and maintained for a 100-year storm. You could apply having a professional engineer to certify that. You will get either a 25 or 50% discount on your stormwater utility fee. Besides that, it's across the board. If we pay the fees. So I'll be more than happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the commission? Very good. And no public participation. Very good. Is there a motion and a second? Is there a motion to adopt 5023?
Motion to adopt 5023.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second on Resolution 5023. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Perine?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes.
Thank you.
The motion is adopted. Thank you very much. Is there any further topics for the Finance Director or the City Manager?
I just want to thank the mayor and the commission for their comments and suggestions during the workshops we have. Specific workshop where the has some input for us. I think it made our job easier to come back and know exactly, what to do with the millage and trying to reduce the budget. So I appreciate your comments and I appreciate your patience with us and your help. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Any comments or questions from any commissioner? Madam City Attorney, are we square? Anything from you, ma'am? We're going to do all this again on the 26th,
Correct.
correct? City Clerk, anything to report?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. We're adjourned.